right, Greenleaf fans, this is going to be my review for episode 6, the 6th day. And, well, we are gearing up for the finale. I mean, we only have 2 episodes left. And I just finished watching the episode tonight. I don't even know what to score the episode. I feel like, we're getting slower paced episodes, but at the same time we have some noticeable moments. I feel like that's the best way for me to describe it. But let's just hop into it. Before going further, make sure you like the video, hit that subscribe button, hit the bell notification icon so you don't miss out when I post new content, and links to all my social media, they're going to be in the description. Why not follow me? Because, well, again, why not? We have the episode start with Bishop on the phone. I believe he's talking with an FBI agent trying to figure out how in the world Rochelle is like free to just linger around the country. And apparently she's no longer a person of interest. And we have Bishop fighting May on trying to get a physical. And apparently it's like, look, go because your appointment's at 8 and you have like 20 minutes. Tara's coming over to try to convince me that she isn't playing dirty. And she had nothing to do with Rochelle being at her place last night. Bishop's actually going to go over to the club, Mavis's club, in order to get everything looked at by the city inspector because, of course, that's where they're going to, work on the new church. But Grace gets a call from Darius, and apparently when he was in Vegas, and I did do a video on the clip that was released Tuesday, he was actually robbed in Vegas, and he had his phone and laptop swiped, and he's calling because he had just gotten home and asked Grace if she still had photos of, like, the Carr County files. And we have Grace rushing up the stairs, and we have May looking suspiciously at Grace like, did she overhear what Darius was saying? Or did she just feel like, oh, great, here we go with some more nonsense? But in any case, Grace gets on her computer and pulls up the emails. But while she's doing that, she is watching as her emails are being deleted right there when she's on the phone. So that begs the question of, is somebody tapping the phone lines, or something just doesn't seem right? Because remember, Darius is calling from I guess you could say a random number because this is his new phone because his other one got stolen. But then we get to the theme song. All right. And this is the part where I might need to explain the episode a bit different because, well, it kind of jumps all over the place because it's Greenleaf after all. So we get Phil's father who's at the Greenleaf estate gate, and Charity drives up. We actually have him going into the house and meeting with Grace. And, it's kind of funny because you can tell this is Phil's father just by his shortness with people. So it's like, I can see where Phil gets it from. It's like, yeah, oh, yeah, you're the one I hung up on. Yeah, it's okay. Oh, no, I'm not apologizing. I'm like, that's Phil. Phil is his father. This is amazing. All right. So before that, we also get a brief scene of Jacob and Carissa. I believe they're getting ready to take Winky to, like, what was it, this therapist or a counselor, just to explain that mommy and daddy are getting a divorce, and, well, she still isn't budging on the shared custody. Sophia and Zora are chilling for a little bit. I think Zora is getting an audition tape ready for a school she wants to go to in New York. Apparently she's going to be leaving tomorrow night because of the whole divorce thing. He's like, look, mom and dad have their own lives. I'm about to live my own and get up out of this craziness, so I'm gonna be out. So, you know what, I might as well skip ahead because Sophia later goes to tell Jacob and Carissa about what Zora plans to do. And then they actually confront Zora, but in a very loving fashion. I like the fact that Jacob kind of took lead on this one, and he was actually very reasonable. Like, it wasn't a situation where he was talking down to Zora, but at the same time, it was like, look, you're not a kid anymore, but you're not ready to just go to New York on your own. So what we can do, if you can go ahead and renew that ticket, get your refund, we can, talk it out with your cousin and see if you can stay with her. Even though she doesn't live directly in New York, she lives close. So give us like a couple of days to work it out. And they actually did well because later on, right before Carissa leaves, she's saying how it's sad that it took us to break up for you to act like a good husband, the way you were just saying we and everything. That was a really good scene. I really did like that. And apparently, he's not remorseful, or he doesn't regret that he and Carissa met. I mean, sure, things didn't work out the way they planned, but at the end of the day, everything happens for a reason. And honestly, that's a lesson we all need to remember. But overall, before Carissa gets up, she tells Jacob that they can share custody. So that was good. That was good. But going over to Zora and Sophia once again, she's mad at Sophia for snitching, but we also get a good scene because Sophia was reading the Bible about adultery because May admitted to her adultery, and that resulted in grace. But of course, I'll talk about that in a little bit. But basically, Zora says she's not mad anymore because apparently she told Aunt Grace about how, oh, I'm worried about Sophia. She has some potential revealing photos online, and that's probably one of the reasons why she's reluctant to go back to Hampton. So I don't know if she really told Grace or if she was just teasing Sophia. But I will say this much. Nobody likes a snitch, and I'm not taking sides just because I had that amazing interview with Desiree Ross. But here's the thing. Whenever Sophia snitches on Zora, it's because Zora's in a very bad situation. Like their abusive relationship she was in with what was the dude's name? Was it Isaiah? Look, I forgot. I know it was Rashawn Fagan that played the character. Was it Isaiah? Well, I mean, she was in an abusive relationship, and yeah, Sophia told her parents that she got hit. And then Zora is literally about to just leave like a thief in the night. Hey, I sound like May. A thief in the night. Like a thief in the night to go to New York on her own. And yeah, Sophia, she definitely did some questionable things with the photos. Not only that her face was in them, but it wasn't her fault that they got leaked. So Zora, I mean, I get it. I mean, I do like that she told, because hopefully maybe we'll get a scene between Grace and Sophia about the situation, and maybe Sophia will actually go, because not only did AJ pump her up last week about it, but also if her mom kind of knew what's going on, that would be great. So I mean, I get why Zora told, but I felt like it was really spiteful. I mean, it's almost like, Zora didn't tell Grace because she was legitimately concerned about Sophia, but it's like she only told Grace because, oh, Sophia told on me. So again, I'm not saying that I dislike Zora, but at the same time, I just feel like, Sophia snitching was far more justified, if you ask me. Again, not taking sides here. So again, like I said, I've been jumping all over the place, but all right. So what do we have here? Okay, next up, Darius is in the house as well, with Grace and Charity and Phil's father. Look, I cannot say his name correctly, so I'm just going to say Phil's dad, if that's okay with you all. But basically, again, a smart ass, like, again, you see where Phil gets it from. Like, every time Darius is trying to break things down, like, yes, like we all know, and then, okay, well, let me explain, sir. I don't know the connection, because right when I got the contacts and names and everything, boom, I got robbed. So my laptop and phone are gone. So then Darius breaks down, like, I just love the way, I mean, not Darius, but Phil's dad. I love the way he break it down, because he was a former Black Panther. Now, why do you think Bob Whitmore is being friendly with the black church? So apparently his wife, Phil's mother, was kind of like the front spokesperson, or the spokesperson to the black people, because Edenvale Lending is like, they would offer second mortgages to like poor black families, but when they couldn't pay them back within that balloon date, they would foreclose on the homes and whatnot. So essentially, Phil is to Bob Whitmore, and H&H what Phil's mother was to Edenvale Lending, which and Bob Whitmore. So it's very interesting when you look at it from that parallel. Phil is unknowingly in the same position as his mother. That is something to really consider as great character development. But we only got 2 more episodes to solve it, so But in any case, Phil's dad is like, if you can get one person on record, then I'll speak. I'll come out and say exactly what's going on, instead of just me being in the shadows, because unless Phil's father goes on record, then what he says is pretty much just hearsay, kind of like the whole situation about the will with the Greenleaf estate. But we get a great scene with Noah and actually, sorry, hang on. Oh, yeah. Darius is telling Grace that after this whole situation's done with Bob and the church and everything, I want to talk with you about the future, which potentially means, them being together. And she says, okay, well, I'm going to the hospital because Noah actually got AJ to get on his meds, which I'm like, thank goodness. So we go with Tara and May, and Tara's trying to clear the air, basically saying, look, I did call Rochelle after Jacob left, but at the same time, there's no foul play going on my end. And now being in this house, I can see that could really be used for good, but May isn't buying it. And Tara actually is like, basically, it's not a situation where I feel like even if the house was given to, even if May gives over the house, Rochelle will probably not be satisfied, even if they get it. So I don't know. Tara, I just don't know if we can trust her. I really don't. So we go over to Bishop, who's getting the bar inspected, and Rochelle comes in. And wait, did I do a video on this? I feel like I did a video on this. Did I? Wait, no, I did not. But basically, she taunts him about, again, until you do right by me, everything you do will fail. Everything will fall. Nothing. You will not succeed in anything. That's literally what the whole scene was. I mean, it was great to see her again. Don't get me wrong. I love me some Latoya, but she seems delusional, as Bishop put it. It's like she's convinced that Bishop was responsible for her father's death, and she will gleefully gloat in his face about everything he does failing. Oh, you're possibly going to lose your house. You got kicked out of your church, and now you're trying to teach the gospel in a bar? Huh. So why do you think things are going well for me and not for you? And then when Bishop is like, what is it going to take for you to end? What is it going to take for us just to end this? Basie should have killed you when he had the chance. Which I feel that line confirms that Basie is indeed dead. So I don't think Basie was the one who rolled up in the SUV to pick up Rochelle at the end of the last episode. All right. Then we go over to my second page of notes, and we got Noah and Grace at the hospital. And, she talks about what she found in the book that Noah told him about, and he was like, I'll ask around with neighbors to see if I can get any kind of name for that particular Negro, to see if it was really Daryl James or it was someone else, that Miss Davis was, seeing. But apparently, Grace is like, I wonder if Bishop's car, if Dad offering AJ the car is what really helped him to take the meds and really do get back on the right track. And again, like last week, it was good to see this new AJ. He's more energetic. He's happier. He's kind of teasing his foes. Like, I can see y'all two together. I see how y'all made me. So he was only in the episode briefly, but it was enough. Like, I like seeing this AJ. Once again, like seeing him like this is like, you know what? He really is their kid. He really is the real AJ. So Noah's like, hey, I got a place for me and AJ close to my mom's house. And if your parents give up the house and you need a place to stay, no strings attached. You can stay with, us. So once again, I like that scene. That was really good. Let's see here. Then we go over to May and Bishop. And the thing about it is, I love how May and Bishop are approaching the James situation differently, where May had a peaceful meeting with Tara, but Bishop had a very, negative experience when Rochelle came over to talk with him. So it's one of those situations where Bishop is like, you know what, this is ridiculous. We're not giving the house to these con artists. But May's talking about how, you know what, look, we had a good meeting with Tara. I'm just figuring out how to do things in a holy way. And she's thinking that Bishop is delusional when he's bringing up things about how this whole first will thing probably isn't real. But then May is like, well, look, Miss Davis never even went to the church, and you meet with her like one time, and all of a sudden she leaves the house to us. Now, how do you think it's unbelievable that she would leave the house to Daryl James? So both sides made valid arguments, but in the midst of their argument, Jacob comes in and says, hey, can you come downstairs? We want to make sure Carissa and Winky get like a normal family goodbye. And, May is quick to snap at him. Was like, well, the next time you get married, make sure it's somebody you love and somebody that you're faithful to. And then before they go downstairs, Bishop is right to call her out. It's like, look, you're talking about me and my mistakes, and everyone else is like, all my mistakes have been broadcast on a blimp to the entire town, whereas you've been living a lie for 40 years. So what you need to do is check yourself and confess to your own sins before you try to tell somebody else how to live their life. And I'm like, Bishop for the win, for real. And it's not that I dislike May, but this has been like a running trend with her in almost every season, where she's been quick to call out other people and condemn them and tell them what they need to do to get right with God. But it's like, May, you got your own funk that you need to sort out. You can't be telling everybody else how to live their lives. But Then we go over to Judy and Phil, and this again was another fantastic scene. So basically, they're in the church. I guess they're just inspecting things, doing like a kind of like a last once over through some old file boxes, and give it to Judy. Throwing shade at Corinne. It's like, wow, these files are intact and orderly. It's like, well, Judy, what do you mean? That was the woman's job. Well, yeah, she had those earbuds in, so always basically just assuming that somebody wasn't doing their job because it looked like they weren't working. But then Charity pops in, and Phil's dad is there too, and he introduced himself. And Judy's like, well, I'm his fiance. And then she is not afraid to show off that bling. And he's like, oh yeah, I know you and your family broke into the church. I want to need you to give over the spare key you have, which honestly doesn't really matter at this point because based on the timeline, they went to the church Sunday night and it's daytime now. So this is a Monday, meaning that Judy, the church is being torn down tomorrow. What does it matter if Charity gives you that key for or not? But basically, Phil's dad is warning him about the situation about, hey, here's everything that happened between Bob Whitmore and your mother, and you're being used in the same way. You just don't see it. Phil doesn't care. He's about to call the cops, but Charity grabs his phone because they're trying to save him. And the acting in this scene was great because Phil talking about how, look, you want to talk about what I remember as a kid? How about you doing a crossword, getting drunk, laughing while mom was working her ass off and you were eating the food that she paid for? And it's like, damn, what you go through as a child really shapes you as an adult. Nope, our parents aren't perfect, but based on how they treat you when you're growing up and how you remember them, even if they have an entire spiritual turnaround, later on down the line, you don't forget how they treated you as a kid or how they treated their, like, let's say your mom was the abusive one and your dad was the one who was providing or vice versa. That stuff will mess you up. So yeah, it's easy to understand why Phil doesn't believe his father. And then he says, I don't want to see you again. Damn, I felt that was again, acting. But then Charity's like, you know what? When people say I'm going to pray for you, they usually mean that as an insult or some kind of snide remark, but I legitimately mean that because only God can help you now. And he is so shaken that he doesn't want to be touched by Judy. He's like, he's feeling convicted. That was definitely a powerful scene. So kudos. That was a great scene. The question is, what's going to happen now? What is Phil's next move going to be at this point? So we go over to, let's see here. Yeah, we're almost done because, like I said, I really explained a lot of what actually happened towards the end of the episode. All right, so Carissa is leaving, and even though I don't believe there's been any confirmation on this, I haven't even bothered to look at any sort of IMDb cast listing. I don't know if this was like the last time we're going to see Carissa and Winky in the series. I mean, there are only 2 episodes left, and this was a good goodbye scene. So if we don't see Carissa again, and I'm not saying this as a, oh man, I hated Carissa. No. If this was the last episode Carissa's in, this was a very good send-off. So I really did like the scene itself. They, Jacob and Carissa hugged and everything. And as they were leaving, Charity pulls up because May is about to tell the family a secret. So basically she confessed to her own sins about how, look, you know what? Boom. I cheated on your father. Grace isn't technically a Greenleaf, but at the end of the day, we're still family. And everybody's like, what? But the funny thing is, later that night, we got the siblings, Grace, Charity, and Jacob just drinking and talking about the whole situation with the, their mother having an affair. And again, this was another great scene because they all talk about the pressures of being the Greenleaf. And even though Charity has done a lot of questionable things, which I feel are very inexcusable, she talks about how she's always felt the pressures of being a Greenleaf, growing up with all this money and this house. But at the end of the day, it's all like a front, a facade. I like the scene. It really talked about the pains of growing up with a family like this and how they tell us to act perfect in their own, and they got their own skeletons in the closet. But And then they joke about Grace is like, I always wondered where your light skin came from. I love this scene because this wasn't drama filled. This was a great laid back scene where we just see the characters being themselves. So then we get Grace getting a call from Darius, and he's like, hey, one of the contacts Phil's father told us about wants to speak. So please come over as soon as you can. And then we go over to Grace going over to Darius's place. She knocks on the door. Nobody's there. She calls, but there's nobody answering. And then we get a car pulling up, and lo and behold, it's Fernando. And he's like, oh, you want to know where Darius is? I'll take you to him. You better let go of me. Journalism is dead, Grace. Stay out of this. And then he leaves. So Darius has been abducted, and the question is, Fernando said journalism is dead. So does that mean Darius might die, or is he simply going to be incapacitated until Bob announces his run for Senate? So, oh boy, we only got 2 episodes left, so we shall see what happens. But overall, what would I score this episode? Like I said, it really wasn't action-packed, but we did get some suspenseful moments and great acting. I would give it a 8.5 out of 10. Again, this was a very good episode, and with 2 episodes left, we'll just have to wait and see how the series comes to a close. So, with that being said, thanks so much for tuning in. If you'd like to donate to the channel, feel free to do so on PayPal, Cash App, or, you can join my Patreon for as little as $1 a month.